The Fraser Institute has come out with the 24 facts for 2024. Canadians should understand impact and government policies, i.e., the Trudeau government. Now, the Fraser Institute, just so you know, because it looks like they don't get paid off, because why would you say something like this? Because, the middle class and those joining, the $10 daycare, safety's amazing. We've never been safer. Canada doing amazing compared to everyone. Okay, what? Okay, they're saying the 24 facts, and the Fraser Institute is a public policy think tank and is funded through donations from individuals, corporations, and foundations. It may also receive funding from endowments and grants. The Institute is known for its libertarian and free market approaches to policy. However, specific details about individual donors and proportions of funding for various sources are typically not publicly disclosed. Yeah, okay. I mean, still pretty good. Okay, the first category, and it is in a couple categories, the 24, Canada's economic crisis. So the average Canadian income has stagnated in 2016 to 2022. That's pretty well not much change, or a rounding error at about $55,000, something like that. Meanwhile, the United States has seen an average increase of $66K to $74K. So $17,000 less Canadians make under the Trudeau regime. We are back on the world stage. This is what has happened. Everything's gotten worse. Let's look at the next one here. Canada ranked just below Louisiana, 58,000 in average per person income, and slightly ahead of Kentucky. This is not exactly a bar Canadians should be aiming for. Ooh, there's a bit of a insult zinger there, but okay. Yeah, that is, I guess when you look at it, that means all of Canada is worse or just the same as Kentucky and Louisiana. It's not even like, it can't be California, say New York or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shot at the States, but anyway, it tells a telling tale. Next one. And this is the Economic Cooperation of Development. I think that's the, I thought it was Export Canada. Well, Canada will have the worst performing advanced economy in 2020 to 2030, and from 2030. So basically from now for 40 years because of Trudeau. Where are those green jobs that, they are amazing world, all those green jobs? I never understood, where are they? And tree planting, they've been doing it for 100 years anyways in the summer for kids. So that doesn't count. So, yeah, finance minister, she should care, but, they don't. Next one here is Canada's economic crisis is due to a large part of decline in business investment. Business investment per worker in Canada declined 20%. I think a lot of this too, when Trudeau, for example, froze the bank accounts, I think that when that happened, the world banks, like in Hong Kong and outside of Canada, they called up Trudeau, or they called up TD Bank and those counterparts and said to him, what the hell are you doing? I think that's what happened, and they flipped it back over because it was just scared them to the shits, really, that the Trudeau government did that. And they can say it is like Canada's a democracy and all this stuff. When they did that, I think that put a huge tarnish, and companies, they're scared that the Trudeau government can just go in there and take everything away in a heartbeat and not even be charged for it. This is why it looks like they do need to be charged. Someone needs to be charged, or a thing, in my opinion. Okay, the next one is, and the next one in 2024, Canada invested about 80 cents per worker for every dollar, and in the USA it was 55, so about half. So all that means is government spending increased a lot to get investors in Canada. The government spent it. No wonder too much spending. Okay, the next one is, okay, all this is saying is that Canada from 2024 has spent about $300 billion more. Ask yourself, what better services for $300 billion? Are there more hospitals? Are there what? What else is there? Like faster garbage pickup? Better schools? I don't know. That's a lot of money for nothing. And also, they said too in Ontario, like with all the money Catherine Wynne has spent, how come the sidewalks aren't paved with gold? And what happened to that money? Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so from the onset of COVID, from 2020 to 2023, the government has increased about 12% government jobs with 3% private sectors. So all this, when the unemployment numbers were low, all Trudeau has to do is hire more government employees. And then when they publish it, part-time, full-time, they don't need to say which one. That's something that should change when Pierre gets in, to say the jobs are created, the government ones and the private ones. You have to separate them. And you have to have, like, the private ones, on the stock market are privately held. You cannot be a different government that gets government grant and does everything. So that makes sense. Let's look at the next category. Fiscal crisis, impunitive spending, and massive deficits. I thought we already talked about this, but let's have a look at the next category. The Trudeau government has increased annual spending, not interest, by 75% since 2014, from $250 billion to nearly $500 million a year. Once again, where is all this extra services that you're getting? I mean, you can leave a comment where you think that is below, but I don't see any of it actually happening. Okay, the next one. With federal spending at nearly about 12,000 Canadian, the Trudeau government is on the track to record a 5 highest levels of person per spending in the Canadian history. So all this means is the government at $12,000 a person. I don't get it. The Canadian government spends $12,000 per person, and it's the highest. So they're just spending a ton of money. And all of this, when Trudeau says, we are doing this for you, it's him. Trudeau says he's doing it for you. It's not his money. That's what he doesn't get. Okay, let's look at the next one here. Okay, so here they're saying that the spending is 4 million federal, provincial, and local government employees across Canada. That means all federal, provincial, and municipal. And for our sake, it's all of them. Because you know how they always blame it's the provincial or the municipal or federal? It doesn't matter. Taxes are taxes. Like if Toronto increases its taxes to 10 or 16%, it doesn't matter, because the federal, you still have to pay federal tax. You still have to pay HST. Like, it's just, all of it is taxes in our eyes. Okay, here's the important point. 31% higher. So government workers make 31% higher wage than private sector. And that, I know, is pretty serious. Okay, next one here. Okay, the Trudeau government used large increases to borrow and tax increases to finance. Federal debt has ballooned to $2 trillion and is projected to be $2.4 trillion. Let's listen to Trudeau, how he doesn't care about any fiscal responsibility. Let's do this.
Debt, servicing costs on that are going to be very high. Sorry? The servicing costs on the debt you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are historic lows.
Okay, but it's still a lot of money. No. It's still a lot of money. No. And you don't know where. Okay, so but how are you going to pay?
Well, how are you going to pay for that? Well, you're going to increase taxes. That's why. They all see it. It's not rocket science, but it's not rocket science at all. That's how, he made it sound like he was this great opportunity to spend a ton of money and say that it was him, but now you have to pay it all back. So that's really the point on there. Next one is this. Okay, combined federal and provincial debt in Canada has nearly doubled from $1 trillion to $2 trillion. Wow, that is a lot of debt. And I don't know why a lot of these numbers, they're separating, provincial and federal and whatever. But yeah, if you mark this down in 2014, which is about the middle, yeah, he increased a lot of spending, a lot. And yeah, with Gord, was a smart guy who asked that question. Now we're paying for it. Okay, the next one, tax increases and Canada's affordability crisis. Let's have a look at this one. So this is the taxes, and at the end, 45% of your income goes to taxes, which is more than housing, food, and clothing combined. So at what point, how much more does the tax need to go up? 50%, 60, 70. Like, I don't get it. What point? And to me, this number, this is where the United Nations should have a benchmark to say that no country can tax more than like 25% of their citizens. Like, there has to be somewhere that it stops. It cannot go forever. It doesn't matter. The services, they're not. What services have come up for nearly doubling everything? Like, you can't even imagine what that is. Now, here's a chart saying that 240 clothing is 35%, taxes are 45. So 10% more just goes to taxes. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the next one here. Okay, housing and groceries dominated the news last year, but in 2022, the average family spent about $1,500 more on housing and $1,000 more on food, while the government extracted an extra $4,500. This is where they're sending you a check. You're getting more than you can. You're putting tax money in, and you're getting more back. All they're saying here is that it's not true, and I don't know why. I mean, I do know why they don't want to say this. The government, it's not going at all. It's not going what they're saying. So when someone tells them this, what do they actually do? Do they just ignore everything? Because that's what it looks like. Let's look at the next fact. And this has to do with we're cutting taxes for the middle class and those joining the middle class. This is Trudeau's slogan for about 4 years. Every question he ever got, like, what movie do you like, or what book do you read? Oh, not a book. He doesn't do that. But what movie have you watched, or something personal? He's always said the middle class and those joining it. All it's saying is that 86% of those middle class are paying more. So that whole 4 years of talking points is all out the window. Now, let's look at the next one here. Okay, more than 60% of the lower income families in Canada now pay higher federal taxes because of the federal government. This is once again the opposite of what everything that Trudeau has said. It's the total opposite. I often wonder who is surrounding him. Like, when they say you only want to surround yourself with positive people, that's what it looks like. The only people that will tell you something positive and never tell you anything about reality, what's going on. Okay. Next one here, 74% of Canadians surveyed believe the average family is being overtaxed. Well, I wonder what the overtaxed, like what other countries, what's the worst overtaxed country that there is? Well, these are all the personal income tax, the highest personal income tax. So Finland's 57%, Denmark, Japan's 56%. Oh, I thought Canada is just getting worse, but it's actually those other ones, 45% in Australia. All the governments spend like crazy. United Kingdom. Okay, let's keep going down. Where's Canada? United States. Ecuador. Oh, 37% in America saying. In Canada's 33% here. I don't get it. It's 45%. So how can you got to wonder all this data too. Who is doing this? Because it doesn't seem to relate. This is what, once again, the United Nations should do this for the world and stop getting money from governments or whoever to fudge the data, because all of us should be looking at the same data. Let's keep going. Yep. Okay, now we're going to the next category. It's a bit more damaging energy and environmental policy. Okay, this goes straight on Stephen Guilbeault and the Queen of Taxes, Catherine McKenna. So let's have a look in here now what this is about. Okay, in the federal government, there's a common belief that the Canadian economy is undergoing a fundamental rapid change of green technologies, yet despite massive regulation and subsidies, StatsCan shows the green economy amounts to only 3% of gross domestic product and directly roughly employs 1.6% of the jobs. So it's nothing. So these green jobs of the future, where are they? Because we don't make solar panels, or you want to show the picture of them putting the solar blades in the ground and burying them because they can't do anything with it. So yeah, this is directly on Stephen Guilbeault. Let's look at the next example here. Okay, the recently United Nations Climate Change Conference pushed a transition away from fossil fuels despite significant spending on green energy for a long time. The amount of fossil fuels, we know, consumed worldwide actually increased 60%. Yeah, I've seen this too, where the world wants fossil fuels and oil and LNG, liquefied natural gas, and they're not doing it. Look at in Ukraine and Germany. We have the liquefied natural gas. Trudeau said there's no business case, which there is. Yet we said, after we told him to go fly a kite, then we said we ship over some social influencers to talk to him about poutine, how great it is. All that salt and fat. Yeah, that's our contribution, Canada's contribution to that. Let's look at the next one here. This also has to do with the LNG that we should be sending it out. And there is the business case. If China, we all buy stuff from China, when they open a coal plant in a city to make products to ship over to us, if we sent over liquefied natural gas or something to help them not use coal, it would save. I think the important point is here, the reduction would be equivalent to, look at that, 0.004% of global emissions. I almost think I need to do a separate video just for Stephen Guilbeault to have a look. There is the example on that one. Let's look at the next one here. Okay, this has to do with the housing. A newly constructed home in Canada will increase by $55,000 on average by 2030 because of its federal government's stricter energy efficiencies. They've had this energy efficiencies for a long time. I don't know. I would guess 30, 40 years. And I think, a lot of houses too, there's always improvements. You have to maintain a house, have to have money to maintain a house and to fix stuff. You can't go around putting all these regulations in. This is part of the red tape that they need to get rid of. Let's look at the next category. Our failing healthcare system. And I think I'll do a separate one by minister because they should be listening to this. Next one here. How good is our healthcare system? Canada's average healthcare wait times hit 27 weeks. Oof. The longest recorded and nearly 200% longer than the 10 weeks in, what's sad about that is, we'll all need healthcare at one point, and waiting for a test to find out something that could shorten your life, those months are horrible. And it just shows at the end, when you look at this stuff, waiting longer and more people and them not building hospitals is really crazy. And, with Trudeau, even Doug Ford and all those guys, what hospital, I'd like to know, what hospital have they gone to? How long was that wait? Because why do I got a feeling they fly to France or to Germany or in America in Palm Springs and go see a doctor and don't even bother going to a Canadian place to do any tests? Among the group of 30 high-income countries that have university accessibility healthcare, Canada spends the most money on healthcare per GDP. And, this is where, I can get the example of Chrystia Freeland saying, oh, there's $200 or $300 we're spending on healthcare. It's hiring more people or more business people, paper pushers is not it. It's actual doctors and nurses that they need to spend. So it doesn't matter, even if it's $10 trillion. If they don't spend it on the right thing in healthcare, it doesn't matter. They have to cut. They have to be efficient. And the only way they be efficient is just raise more taxes. Let's look at the last example here. And despite the high spending, we are a poorer performer among this group. Canada has the longest wait times, ranked 28th out of 30 of the doctors, 23 out of 29th in the number of hospital beds. Ugh. Just horrible. And I've seen this before too with the wait times. So I'll have a look in detail about this, but I know this has happened. So anyway, those are the 24 facts that I know. This was a long video. I'll do one where it breaks it down a little bit better if you made it this far, but which ministers actually should be held responsible. Thanks for watching. I hope that was informative. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.